Hi, I'm Anthony.
I'm Laura.
We're going to be critiquing JMU's production play, Still Alive.
So the first component is characters. There's only a few characters in this play. There was six, and then there was about four ensemble members. One of the characters who wasn't really in character, but you saw them on stage the entire production, is the narrator. And she just stood on stage, helped push the play along, and was constantly informing the audience between acts of what was going on. John and Paul were the two nerdy co-workers who worked together. They were trying to create a robot to work to defeat the zombies that were currently attacking everyone. And they eventually did program powerful robots that actually came back and ended up attacking them. And they were both on Team Human. And then Rob was their boss at the company that they worked for, and he was always stressing John out with his deadlines, and he actually was one of the people who turned on them and was on the zombie team. And then Gladys was Paul's girlfriend. She was really pretty but ditzy woman. She comes across as like your average pretty face with nothing really more to offer, but then throughout the play that you find out that she's actually really, really smart, and she's an engineer, and she helps them along the way with their coding and robots. And then Madeline is John's fiance, and she actually proposed to him because she's an alpha male. And that was kind of one of her ways of showing dominance. And she starts off as a human and then gets attacked by the zombies. And then she was like the first person that they converted to a robot.
Okay, and now we're going to move into language. There was a narrator in the background of the whole entire play who informed you on what was going to happen in the next sequence of events on stage, and it also helped with the characters' internal dialogue and like how they felt. I felt that in the play the aspects were more realistic, so following the realism feature that we learned in our theater book, it expressed pretty much like their everyday lives. Like, you know, the dialogue was very casual. Pretty much language we would use in everyday life. They did have a lot of vulgar conversations, however, a lot of profanity, but it matched the overall theme of the play, which was good. Those who were robots, they had to use external acting techniques to portray how a robot would talk. So they had to imagine being a robot and using that to help them reenact that on stage.
Okay, so for the plot of the whole musical, as I said before, John is one of the main characters who is under a lot of stress from Rob, his boss, because he needed to get his coding done in time for work. And so that kind of pushed the plot along. And so then the zombies, this was because like the zombies were taking over and all the characters were getting concerned because they needed to fight them off. They needed to figure out a way to fight them off, because if they got bitten, they would then turn into a zombie themselves, and that's not what they wanted. People started to turn on each other, like Rob. He was originally John's boss, but then one day he approached his house while him and Madeline were just sitting there like trying to fight off the zombies, and they figured out that he was a zombie like coming for them. And then a big part of it was they had to figure out how to save their loved ones. So Madeline had been attacked by a zombie one day, and John needed to save her, and his only way to save her was by using his coding, his robot coding and wiring, to make her into a cyborg. So and the same thing also happened to Gladys when she got bit and became part zombie, that they ended up making them both into cyborgs because the only way to save them at all was to make them into a robot. And at the end, the robots started attacking John because he was the creator, so they saw him as a threat, not the humans. They only saw him because he was the only one who could program them to do any differently. So they were going to attack him and kill him. So he realized that the only way to shut them all down and get rid of them was to get rid of Madeline, his fiance, who was basically like the ringleader of all the robots. So he, at the very end, did kill her, and she actually died in his arms.
Okay, leaving on that note, we're going to move into spectacle. Since the play took place in a black box type of theater, the set was very minimal. They really didn't have a lot of room to work with. They only had one set pretty much. And there were only a handful of characters and ensemble members like partaking in the play. So costumes were very minimal as well. They mostly wore the same costumes like throughout the whole entire show. They were more casual clothes other than the robots. So the lighting and sound were also minimal as well because they had to work with what they had. Everything was tight, and they really didn't have a variety to work with because the space was very tight, and they really didn't have much to do. So, and their access to lighting and sound were also minimal. Everything was pretty much created from the band that was upstage. Not upstage, downstage. Even like the sound effects were either created by the characters or the band as well. So everything was pretty much minimal. And everything on stage, I don't know. In my opinion, I think everything was more off stage. Like when Madeline died from being bitten, that was off stage. But everything else pretty much took place on stage, which was good. But the lighting, like I said, and the costumes were very minimal. Since it was black box theater, there was only one set, and it wasn't like Guys and Dolls where they were coming back and forth, and it was just more haywire. This was just pretty much everything was right in front of you. It was really tiny. But yeah, it's pretty much it on spectacle.
Okay, so theme of the entire play, it was a satirical theme. It was very, the play was serious at times, but they really were trying to get you to laugh the entire time. So the theme, though, it calls attention to the role that technology and pop culture, video games, the internet, all that sorts type of thing plays in today's society. At the very end of the play, the narrator, who had been the one addressing the audience throughout the entire play, she kind of opened up to the audience and was reiterating how humans are their own worst enemy. When we tamper with nature, when we try to create new technologies to better ourselves for our own personal benefits, sometimes it simultaneously destroys the nature around us. So, like in the play, when they built the robots to try to attack the zombies, they actually ended up attacking them, so it backfired on them. So we should just basically leave nature alone.
Alright, and we're going to move into music and song. The songs used in the play really helped the plot, drove it forward, and it introduced more elements of the play through the use of the songs. Whenever each character was singing, it pretty much helped like express who they were and their emotions and like how they were feeling, and it showed their unique personality within like the song. It really helped like their character shine through. The different moods were also apparent through the use of songs, and it was able to tell the audience more about the individual characters. The pace and the rhythm were pretty much consistent throughout the whole entire play, other than at the end of the play, I felt like the pace and rhythm picked up a little bit. And whether it was, it was through dialogue or, through, song, pretty much the pace and the rhythm were pretty much the same, like I had mentioned. But other than that, that's pretty much it. I overall thought the play was really good. More singing and dancing than I thought. The language was really funny. They really attracted the audience well.
It was good for a college area.
Yeah, it was definitely good for college kids.
Pertained to the audience.
Yeah, that definitely pertained to the audience, and the language was funny, kept us on our toes. And I definitely recommend going to see it if you do go to JMU. It was well written, and the song at the end was the best song I've ever heard in my life. And it was funny. But thank you for listening. Hope we covered everything you needed. Thank you. I'm Anthony. Bye.
Bye.